Good to go. Right, Offload podcast number 1. It's been pretty hard to get hold of this lad this week. He's blown up on the internet recently with a try he scored last week. But yeah, Liam Marshall, thanks for coming on, mate.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
I'm good. I'm not too bad. Like I said, so you've blown up recently on the internet with a try you scored against Huddersfield. It wasn't that much of a surprise to me. I've seen do these kind of things from being a young lad, but yeah, it's gone everywhere, mate. Do you want to talk us through what you was thinking at the time and how you did it?
Oh yeah, obviously just I think it was a bit of an impulse. It's not really, we're not taught to do things like that, and if things like that don't come off, you get a bit of a roasting. But time of the game and just to give it a crack and see what happens. And luckily enough, it paid off. There was a few people have heard it before, a few choice words off a few of the lads as I kicked the ball, but regathered and scored. So no, they can't be mourning now. I think if I'd have messed it up and they'd have scored. Or
Liam Farrell had something to say about that. Do you want to say what he said? You can swear, it's all right.
With PG, I can.
Yeah, we can say what we want here.
What the fuck are you doing? As I kicked the ball, and yeah, then he came and apologised after I'd scored. To be fair to him, so. I think I was more bothered about proving Faz wrong than getting over the line.
He doesn't like it when other lads in the limelight, does he? He likes the glory for himself.
Yeah, he's the flair man, Harry Sunderland winner and dream team last year. No, I don't think we could say Faz likes the limelight, but that's just not his sort of play, I wouldn't say. He's a bit less flair, more just graft.
Fair enough. Right, we're gonna get onto your career. Why obviously we're on the topic of rugby, so you probably had a different pathway to certain. Well, when myself and Jake Shorrocks where we was kind of in the scholarship from a young age. Yeah, we got the silver spoon, as you like to say. But you had a different path, and do you want to just talk us through the road you took and how it took you to get to where you are today?
Yeah, so obviously you mentioned the way you came through is the conventional path to playing sort of professional rugby, is the old service area sides that you was involved in, and then coming up to like 15 and getting signed into the Wigan scholarship as it was, and then signing your first professional contract at 16 and then working your way through the academy up to the first team. But I sort of had a different path, like you said. I only started rugby from being 12 and was never picked for any of the representative teams, never on any service areas, never was with a professional club as an amateur. And I think that just sort of drove me to sort of try and prove people wrong. And it was only when I was 17 that Wigan picked me up playing a representative game for Barla, and luckily enough got a trial and managed to prove myself and got a contract with the 19s. But still, that didn't all go to plan as well. I was released again at the end of my 19s career and had to work for 12 months in an accounting office. And obviously, having experienced that, you sort of don't take for granted the sort of place we're in now, and it's a lot different to what we do. You know what it's like. We'll come in at 8 in the morning and we can be done for dinner time some days, and you've got days off in the week. And I think it just sort of makes you, like I said, appreciate the opportunity that you've got, but makes me also want to keep pushing, because not to give anybody any offence or disservice, but I don't want to be working in an office. I want to be doing what I do because it's a hobby that I love, and it's a good job.
When you're saying you got released, obviously the second time, did you think that was your rugby career done then, or did you still have hopes that you could come back and still make it pro?
I probably thought that was it. Usually when lads, what it's like, we have the meetings at the end of your 19's career and they sit everybody down, and without saying it, it's almost saying that you're not going to play first team at this club. That's sort of the decision they've got to make, if whether they take you to the first team squad. And when I had that conversation with Matt Pete, I wasn't expecting to be signed, and I wasn't signed. And I think I'd sort of got my head around that, and just rugby was then just something I did as a hobby, and I was lucky enough to get a reserve deal. But yeah, I think for me it was probably, I was thinking that would be it. That would be the end of my sort of chances of playing professional anywhere. And luckily enough, handed a lifeline with the reserve system coming back and the dual red system at Swinton. And yeah, I'll not bore you with all the.
Is it true you have a statue outside the Swinton Stadium?
I think would have been close to one until they've had a few. They've had a few more worldy seasons. Obviously, Mike Butts played well there, and then Matty Ashton obviously took a similar path to me, playing a year at Swinton and killing it and coming to Super League. So I think they've demolished my statue. I think Harry Smith would be the closest one from our team from last year.
Would you, would you say going to Swinton give you that extra kick on to, you're playing against men? I know when I went to Workington on loan, and it's just that next step from like academy level. You're playing against men, aren't you? And it gives you a bit of a reality check. But obviously you went and excelled, and then you come back to Wigan and made it your own, really. Yeah,
that was the main thing. Obviously, when you play at 19s, you can be a 19-year-old like I was in my third year, playing against a 16-year-old. So the standard of the rugby's good, but you just don't get that sort of that aggressiveness, that physicality that you get in a first team game. And going to Swinton definitely helped me with that. I remember my first game was a Saturday night away at Whitehaven, and it was sort of a shock.
Spot in the Whitehaven, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a lovely day as well. It was absolutely chucking it down. It was a mud bath, and I remember coming off thinking, this is a different level of not maybe the quality of the game, but just the physicality and the sort of like you said, you're playing against 30-year-old blokes who are probably coming to smash your head off. Really, they've had a tough day, a tough week at work, and they're trying to come and release their anger at the weekend. And yeah, I think that year definitely taught me that side of the game. And gave me that leg up I needed to sort of advance from 19s to playing in first team, which happened luckily the year after at Wigan. And I think without Swinton and without the reserve system, I wouldn't be sat here today, and I wouldn't be on your podcast, and I wouldn't be playing in the Wigan first team. So yeah, I have a lot of time for them and a lot of gratitude for what they did for me. So when I do look back at that and that time when I was working full time, and I'd come into Wigan on a Monday morning at 7 o'clock, I'd train, I'd have a shower, and I'd go to work, and then I'd do the same on Tuesday morning. But then after work, I'd go to Swinton training. I think taught me a few life lessons and really made me appreciate what we've got today.
Yeah, I think like you said though, I don't think people understand how hard it is, especially that, it was tough enough doing, the route I had, which was pretty straightforward. But I think, you've gone from, like you said, having to go train in the morning, to go work, to then go back training. I think it takes a lot about you and says a lot about you, about your character, of how much you wanted it. And I don't think people listening to this would realise how much work you actually put in to get where you are today. So yeah, I think that's a credit to you, mate. You've done brilliant so far.
Cheers, pal.
What would you say your best memory at Wigan's been so far, or in your rugby career?
I've had a lot in such a short space of time. This is only my fourth year at Wigan, and I think I've been involved in finals, but still never won any silverware. But my best memories are just some of the places we've been able to go and play rugby league. And you was there in Wollongong and in the new camp, and I've played at Wembley. I've been on the pitch at Old Trafford watching you lads win the trophy. And I just think the experiences that I've had in 3 years are amazing, and you can't take them for granted. When you finish playing, I'll always remember that Wollongong trip and going over to Barcelona and playing the first rugby league game there. And the Barcelona
one was something like we said, we played at Wembley and been at Old Trafford and stuff. But I think the Barcelona trip was, it'll probably never be done again, will it? So to say we've played there and we both scored there as well, which is something no one can ever take away from us now. So I'll agree with you that we've had some great memories so far.
I think when you look at that, like you said about that Barcelona trip, and like we took it for granted, I think, and it's one of them that you sort of, when I'm sat here thinking about it now, the best football players in the world, maybe of all time, your Lionel Messi's, your Cristiano Ronaldo's, played on that pitch and scored goals at them ends that we scored tries at. And we walked out and it was nowhere near as full as it would be in an El Clasico, for example, but just you was in awe when you walked out.
It was still unbelievable. The atmosphere was ridiculous.
It was mad. You could only liken it to like your Colosseums in Rome, the size of it, and there was a lot of fans there, and it was nowhere near full, but what an experience. And yeah, I think when we're sat with our little walking sticks, having a trip to the pub, having a catch up, we'll talk about them ones.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, I think that's probably for me the best stadium I think I've played at. It was probably half full. I think they filled one tier, and you just felt everything on top of you. So I couldn't imagine what that'd be like. Was it all 80, 90,000, maybe even more?
Packed up in a big game, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, we've had some great memories, and hopefully, we'll have a few more as well. I think one for you will be hopefully trying to get, your first grand final ring. I think that's the one massive for you, and hopefully a Wembley win for us both, get our first win. Yeah. I know there's a few pictures of you from the last Wembley trip, which
it's like I'll
probably get Pa to pull up at some point on the on the show.
Face.
But
it's like the Michael Jordan movie. It's similar to that one. I think my mum still won't look at that picture to this day. But if there's ever any disputes in the family WhatsApp, my brothers are quick to chuck that one in, and I sort of don't have any argument back for it. Crying on national telly, but we've all been there.
It's got to be done, mate. It shows you care. Right, while we're on the kind of football topic, I know something's cropped up in the last couple of weeks with the Eric Dyer situation. He's obviously gone to his family after the game just to have a little debrief, a little chat with him, and something's been said in the stand, and he's ended up jumping over a few steps and gone up to him. What's your thoughts on that? And what's your opinion on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it was obviously a big topic of conversation in the media, and I think a lot of lads spoke about it at training. And look, I think you'd ask any person, never mind an athlete, whether they'd want to defend their family, and they'd say yeah. And I think there's no different there. Eric's looked up into the crowd and spotted an altercation going on with his brother, I think it was, and he's gone up there he's gone up there and no one knows what he was going to do. He's not throwing any punches. He doesn't look like he said anything other than a choice word, and he's gone up there to sort it out. And you defend your family, and I know you do the same, and I'd do exactly the same. And if you saw something happening in the crowd that you didn't like, and especially if it's involved your family, you go up there. And I think in football especially, not just in all sports, I think fans feel like they can say what they want because they pay the price to get in, they pay the ticket, and fair enough, you pay your price. You can say what you want, but there's boundaries, and you can call a player if he's not had a good game. You can say he's had a good game. You can voice your opinion, but when that opinion is
it's when it gets personal, isn't it?
Personal towards someone, and it causes distress. Like obviously it's done for Eric, and you have to sort of have some sort of backlash to that. And I think some of the things that fans say you wouldn't say to someone in the street. You wouldn't walk up to Eric Dyer in the street or any footballer or any rugby player and call them the names that you call them sometimes. And I think it's quite hurtful, and I know those people wouldn't like it said about their family members.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, it does get pretty personal, and obviously we get a little bit of stick on, and we're only rugby players. But I think footballers, it must be, it's a completely different level. I know from like personal experience with me when I was a bit younger, first started playing, I was into reading comments on social media, and as I've got a bit older, I've learned to try and not read into it, because everyone's gonna have an opinion, not everyone's gonna like you, but as an 18-year-old kid and you're getting grown men, talk shit about you on social media, especially it's worse for your families can see it, but like you said, it's just a bit too much, and it gets pretty personal. It's
the generation that we're in, and it's the social media generation, and everything's tweeted, everything's posted on Instagram, everything's videoed. If something happens, like you said, in a football ground or on the street, someone's got a camera phone out videoing it. And I think that's just the generation that we're in, and as people that are in that sort of small limelight as rugby league players, there's always going to be someone who has something negative to say, but it's sort of freedom of speech, isn't it? I think everyone is allowed to say what they want to say.
Yep.
If they want to call you a fucking idiot because of how you played, or that you're shit, or that you shouldn't be playing, then that's down to them. But and like you said, when I was younger, I was the same. But we know now that there's only a few people's opinions that really matter.
100%.
You'll speak to your family, and obviously you'll be similar to me. I listen to my dad because he's an ex-player, but the people that I most want to speak to after a game with regards to my performance is our coaches. We'll go in the morning and have our reviews, and if they say I've played shit, then I take that on the chin and we work with it.
Yeah.
But you've just got to not listen to the noise outside of it. And I know we probably only get it walking from the ground to our cars after the game, or maybe in the supermarket. But these football lads they're getting hounded. They've got people knocking on the doors. They've got cameras chasing them wherever they go. And I just think that you've just sometimes got to just take it on the chin and crack on. And I know that you learn as you get older to do that. And we take a lot of stick, but we also get a lot of praise.
Yep.
People in Wigan are lovely, the majority of them. So, yeah, it's just part and parcel of being in the limelight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a massive thing. Social media, it can be brilliant, for your personal branding or businesses or whatever. But again, like we've seen recently with the Caroline Flack incident, obviously she's taken her own life, which nobody should do, but especially over social media and stuff like that. So. I read a thing a couple of weeks ago about the Caroline Flack situation, and people are trying to now get a petition in place where everyone who owns Instagram, Twitter, Facebook account, should have to sign in with the passport ID or the driving license. So anything you say is literally on you. It's your name, which I don't know what you think, but I think it's a brilliant idea. It stops people, hiding behind names and fake profiles.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think if you're man enough, or if you're willing to put something out there on social media in your name, then fair enough. If you want to comment, obviously there's some boundaries and some of the nasty things that, like you mentioned about Caroline Flack, and are too far. But like you said, if you're stood in a pub and you have an opinion, somebody sees it come out of your mouth. If they don't like it, they confront you. Yeah. But behind a screen, my name could be Peter Jones behind a screen, and I could say what I wanted, and no one would know it was me. So I do agree with that, Gilly. I think that would be brilliant. But
makes sense. That, I think it's got to happen. Like you said, so many people can have their own opinion, but it's stated that you've said this, so there's no holding back. And like another thing what's come about recently is a couple of the Warrington lads. I think Ben Murdoch, Masilla, and Akawala, they've had a bit of abuse on Twitter, but they've ended up messaging this bloke back. Which, to be fair to him, I think he's turned around and said, "All right, we'll meet up." And which again is a bit muggy. I think he's already took the piss by saying a bit of a tweet, but he's got two big lads asking for a coffee there, and look, they're never going to do anything. But I think they would like to go and have a coffee with him and say, why are you saying these things? What is it I'm doing wrong which makes you say these things?
To be fair to the fellow who tweeted that, he's probably one of the first guys I've seen have a second reply to a player who's tweeted them back. But I think good on the Warrington lads for. I know they'd be willing to meet up for coffee, and there'd be no animosity there. It would just be a chat if they went and spoke about it, and sometimes that probably would help and get some people's sort of more understanding of the game, I think, and help to sort of justify why they have those opinions. And but like we was mentioning, just the world of social media as it is today is the good and the bad, like you mentioned, and I think. You're always going to get that if people want it for a platform of promoting their profile and advertising the goods and sort of trying to make sort of money. You've also got to take the bad with that, but that's just how it is, and it always will be. Yeah. There will be ways you can sort of quash people who are over the line, stepping over the mark, but you're always going to get that good and bad, and I think you just have to take it. And I think a lot of people end up just not having those platforms, which is a shame, really, because you should be able to promote yourself out there without getting stick.
I think it's good. I think the good does outweigh the bad. I think as a fan point of view, I know I follow idols who I like, looking into their life, and maybe people from Wigan like seeing what us Wigan lads do.
Yeah, they definitely do.
And we are a lot more out there than your footballers. Yeah. We just class ourselves as normal lads, but people do enjoy that side of it where you can look into people's lives. But
yeah, I would agree with that. I think the good definitely does outweigh the bad, and I would say that you never get someone coming up to you in Tesco's and saying, "Oh, how was your weekend?" No one would come up to you in Tesco's, sorry, and call you for something you do on social media. But then it may start a conversation, because I'm sure you've had it before where you've said been out with the missus to, I don't know, you've been on a trip away, you went down to Bath not so long since, and someone might say, "Oh, it was Bath," and it just starts a conversation, and they know that because they're able to access you on social media. So you very, very rarely get the negativity in person. And you maybe get it off, the old chaps in Wigan who have a bit of banter about your game, but you don't mind that because they know they're just having a bit of crap with you. But like you said, the good is definitely better than the bad, and I think you've just got to take that, and that's just the sort of era that we're in, and we've been brought up with it, so I think we're used to it now.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot easier for us younger lads. We're kind of grown up on it, and we know how to use it in the right way. But I think some of the older boys, maybe you'll see they're not as active on the social media, and they probably don't get that side of things. But it's a big part of what we do. I think now I know the club are always promoting you to come across as a well-behaved person and stuff like that. So it's definitely beneficial for us as young players.
Yeah, it can be used in such a brilliant way, social media, and the amount of people that you have access to with a click of a button is amazing. You could sit and do a seminar or do a talk or go to a school and speak to maybe 500 kids. Yeah. You post one picture and 10,000 people see it like that, and that's just that. It's brilliant for advertising you and building you as a person and as a brand. And I think I could be a lot better at it. I'm more of a looker. I get told, the missus always has cracked with me that I'm the worst sort of social media person because I look at what everyone else is doing, but I don't really post for other people to see. So she gives me a bit of stick for that. But yeah, I think it can be used in brilliant ways. And like you see, there's all these businesses are using it, and I think it's good. And why wouldn't you use it? But like you said, the good is definitely better than the bad.
Yeah. Right. So who inspires Liam Marshall?
Quick flip the switch.
Yeah, we're going to go the completely different end. It doesn't have to be rugby. It can be, anyone in life, sports star, whatever it is. Who's the person for you who's inspired you growing up, or still does today?
I get asked this question a lot, and I had us when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I had big Man United fan, your Wayne Rooney's, your Cristiano Ronaldo's at the time, people like that who I watched and like aspired to be like, and loved to see them play. And I think they were obviously big for me, and I loved them when I was a kid. But I always seem to lean towards my dad in terms of rugby.
Yep.
I've said it a million times before, but his career was cut short, unfortunately, with injury, and he probably played, I think, 2 seasons at Wigan. And just to see the enjoyment that he gets from me playing, and
sitting watching you.
Yeah, and the fact that he probably didn't get to do as much in his career as he would have liked to. So paying him back in that aspect, and obviously everyone's parents the same, driving them to grounds and to training, to games at the weekends, giving up their time. But you've just got to sort of give them back with the enjoyment. And I think that he's probably the one that sort of inspires me to do that. I think he drilled into me from a young age the sort of education side of things, and making sure that you've got a career sort of after rugby, because he led in the same path.
Obviously got cut short,
Yeah, he went and did some college and then got signed at Wigan and sort of just binned the college off. And I think he regrets that now, because he grafts every day, and you don't want to be out in the cold and the rain and getting pissed wet through while you're trying to earn a living. So he sort of made sure that I was always cracked on at school and always did something extra. So I think I'd say my dad, yeah.
Like you just mentioned there, obviously, we spoke about earlier on with you going through a different path where you went and you studied accountancy. Like we said, it wasn't the golden path which myself went on and Jake and people like that. But on the other side of thing, when you hang your boots up and you finish playing rugby, you do have that still there, which is can benefit you. Like I know from my point of view, I did college for 1 year and then stopped because I signed full time. So I've not done any education, which is something probably I'm going to have to look at doing. But so I think it works both ways. Like you're lucky that you've got something to fall back on, and you made it here now, and you're a professional rugby player, and you're at the top of your game. So I think it's worked out well for you in the end.
Yeah, like you said, obviously the different path that I took, and it's sort of benefited me in different ways that it might not have benefited you, and or other people who didn't get that sort of education. But I've did A levels and have got those to fall back on, and just looking into doing an accountancy course through rugby league. And I think it is a massive thing that people take for granted, and that's one thing that I know we're not old yet, but I would drill into younger lads and say that you need to just make sure that even if you're not doing it every day, you don't have to do it every day, you don't have to do it every week, but you've got something in mind, a little plan, because you never know what could happen. Touch wood, nothing happens, but lads could try out for a game one day and then that'd be the last time they ever play. And it happens to everyone.
It
happens to everyone. There will become a time where we don't play rugby anymore, and you need to make sure that you're sorted for after that.
Is that something you think you're definitely going to go into? Is the accountancy side of things, or? It's
just something that I did enjoy doing and I've had experience in, and it's sort of an easy thing for me to sort of jump back into. Yeah. I don't 100% know what I want to do when I finish. I won't mind going down the coaching path or something like that, but I just need to make sure that if tomorrow I wasn't a rugby player anymore, that I've got something lined up to do. That's all my thinking is, and to just sort of crack on with that and make sure that I'm ready to go when it is eventually time to hang the old Nikes up.
I'll just touch on lastly, I think, what you said with, getting your education and young lads coming through. It's definitely something you've got to do. And I remember Ryan Sutton, he probably did it perfectly, where as soon as we left school, he started, studying to be an electrician. And we was in the academy, and then when we both signed full time, he'd already finished that course and he was a qualified electrician. So it's paid off massively for him. Where I think, you know, me, I look back now and wish I probably would have done what Sutty done, where I try to get a trade behind me.
I think the longer you put it off, it's harder to jump back into.
Yeah, because obviously you're trying, you know, your hardest every day to become, you know, the best you can be. And we're not signed pro then, so that was obviously everything we wanted to do. But I think it's easier to manage it back then than when you actually sign first team. And
I think it definitely is.
The real training starts. So yeah, I think that's a good message to give out there for, you know, lads coming through.
Yeah, I would definitely promote to. I know it's the old cliche of stay in school and all this rubbish, but
it's definitely true.
Yeah, because it's hard to take sometimes when like I know obviously we spoke about earlier about me getting released by Wigan, and luckily enough I'd done A-levels and had the qualification to choose something, but at that time it was quite upsetting for me that I was released and that I wasn't going to be for a short time. I didn't think I was going to be at Wigan for the future. So you're probably in a tough headspace at that time, and if you're then trying to think about what you want to do or what course you want to start, or you've got to start doing exams or qualifications, it's pretty tough to get back into. So do it earlier is what I'd say, be the message. And what you said about Sutty, signing at first team at 19, 18, and he's already a qualified electrician. Look, he's over in NRL killing it now, and fair play to Sutty, but if anything did happen, it's there for him. And I think that's the big message, is look after yourself, because there's not a job for everyone at the rugby club you're at when you finish. Everyone would like to think that the club look after you. Club look after you, they're good to you, but not everyone turns into a coach, not everyone turns into a CEO, so you have to do something outside of rugby.
Yeah, and like you touched on there, I think it is getting in better with lads now coming through. I think, you know, the RFL and Wigan especially try and, you know, send lads on courses and, you know, make sure they're doing the right side, you know, education. We have an education centre at our training ground, so yeah, look, I think it's getting better and better, but yeah, something I wish I definitely did.
That's why he's doing this podcast.
Yeah, that's why I started the podcast now. But again, this is something I, you know, enjoy doing.
Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, just like to say thanks, Marshy, for coming on today.
No worries, mate.
Started off with a bang.
So we take off. So on the other side of the table next time, I think. Co-host.
Over and out, podcast 1. Done.
Are you ready to upload? All that go hands up and smile.